Hi, this is Ann Elliott from Homeschooling Torah, and I want to talk to you today about reading problems and what to do when you encounter reading problems with your children. It feels like it's every mom's worst nightmare to look at your child and see that they're having trouble reading because you feel like such a failure as a homeschooling mother. Maybe you should just have sent them to school. If you can't teach them to read, how will you ever teach them chemistry and algebra? Not that that matters, but even still, in our hearts, we know that we want to teach them to read scripture, and so if they can't read that, then that would be our worst possible nightmare. Well, calm down. It's not a nightmare, and we think we can help your child learn to read. We have some advice for you today, and we're going to talk about, first of all, what to do for small children who are struggling to read. And when I say small children, I mean under the age of 10. If your child is older than 10, it'll take a little bit more work, but the same principles apply. But let's start with smaller children first.
Okay, just in case, we're going to start by taking a look at your day and how you actually go about teaching your child. And if you find a problem here, it's going to be very easy to fix compared to a more serious problem. First of all, I want to just check to make sure that you actually have read the introduction to the level of phonics that you're using. You might even want to read the level, all three levels, phonics for beginners and level 1 and level 2. Because if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, you're going to have a harder time implementing it and actually learning how to do it. Okay, are you consistently doing phonics every day? This is really important because it's a skill and you need to be able to, it's a language learning skill. You need to be able to move phonetic instruction from the short-term memory to the long-term memory. And in order to do that, it needs to happen every single day, 5 to 6 days a week, until your child is able to sound out words relatively easily on his own. I find it's easiest to have a bag or a tote that holds all of the supplies. I'm thinking of a small whiteboard and a marker, flashcards that you make, your little charts with the vowels and so forth, maybe your letter magnets, and put all of those things with your teaching, your teacher's guide and your binder, and put those all into a bag or a tote so that if you go out and run errands all day, you can take it with you and you will not have missed a day. Or if you go visit grandma for a week, 3 weeks into your phonics instruction, you can take it with you and you won't have lost anything. Another thing is I want you to try to make sure that you have your lessons with your child at the same time and in the same place every day. Now you want to have a home that's orderly, not cluttered. You don't want to have too many distractions because it's overstimulation. You know, if you've had a big argument for a half an hour with your family and everyone's upset and the dog's howling and the baby's crying, your child's going to have a hard time learning to read. So you want to work on, before worrying about if your child has a serious condition, you want to make sure that your child doesn't just have overstimulation problems from your home. And so try to have everything orderly and predictable and calm. Also, having a predictable daily routine has been shown to create a state of mind that is conducive to learning. So I'm talking about bedtime routines, consistent meals, what order you do your schoolwork in each day. Those things help your child to feel safe and to thrive. Another thing, this is a good time of day when you're doing phonics to get a playpen out and put the younger baby or toddler into the playpen for a little while with some toys, or maybe get another sibling to help babysit a little so that you can spend some undivided time with the child that's learning to read. Here's an important point. I want you to try to have your child face in the same direction each day when they learn phonics. This is more of a brain thing. You want the information that's coming into your brain to be coming from the same direction each time. So if you always have your child sit in the same chair at the dining room table and you sit on the same side, the left side or the right side, then the information is going to be coming in consistently from the same direction. And this helps orient your child in space and in their left-right directionality. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now let's check your child's abilities. Is your child really ready to read? We have a list of signs of reading readiness and it's on our website. I'm just going to cover a couple of them here. First of all, has your child had an abundance of exposure to language? In other words, do you read to your child every day? Sit on the couch and snuggle together while you read books. These need to be picture books as well as books that you read aloud and the child just listens and imagines a story. But I am thinking a little bit more of the book, the kind of book that your child would look at the page while you read it to them, like little child books, little golden books and things like that. Your child needs to be able to know that letters move from left to right on the page, that we turn the page and we go this order. Also want to increase your child's vocabulary and see if your child enjoys retelling the stories or events back to you. You know, if you see your child sitting with a favorite book and pretending to read and getting most of the words right because they've memorized it, that's a very good sign that a child is getting ready to read. Also, does your child have any speech problems? Does your child speak accurately and clearly and distinctly? Now, the more accurately a child speaks, that tells you that your child has actually heard phonetically the things that are spoken in your home and is going to be able to apply those sounds to phonics. Now, if he has any trouble, that doesn't mean you have to necessarily wait, but it does mean you need to work on those things. All right, can your child rhyme words? Does he know that sat, cat, mat, fat, hat, that all of those things rhyme together? If not, work on it. Again, this is a good reason to read aloud to your child because a lot of children's books have rhyme in them. Poems are great for this. Making up silly songs, those are fun things to do. Can your child clap out simple rhythms? Can he clap and hear syllables? For instance, a syllable is each sound that is in a word. So syllable. I like to put my finger under my chin and make it go up and down, and as I say each syllable, so let's see, my finger's under my chin, I'm going to say syll, that's one time my finger moved, and bull, syllable, that's 3 syllables. Help your child learn that, and that will help them a little bit later into their reading. Can your child understand that words have beginning and ending sounds? For instance, the word beginning, the beginning sound would be b, but the ending sound would be ing. All right, so your child is going to have to hear that in the word mom, you have m, m. So those are 3 sounds. You can help your child learn to slow down a word and say it slowly so that they can hear all of the different sounds. Can your child see differences in letters when they're printed side by side? Do they get letters confused or think that, you know, they're all the same? You can check them maybe with some flashcards and see if the child can tell a difference between a B and a D, or an M and an N, between an O and an A. Those are, doesn't mean they have to know them all at the beginning, but just that they are able to see them. You might even find a vision problem in this part. Can your child recognize uppercase and lowercase letters? I think that happens again as you sit and read with your child. That's just the simplest thing you can do. And I want you to hear this. Our opinion is that the #1 reason children struggle with reading or with phonics is that they have started too early. If your child is not ready, put away the lessons for a few months. Read books with your child and enjoy life. Reading books with your child and interacting with language in a very natural way is so important. Do not try to skip that step with your child. Let's talk about brain injuries for a second, because some children are ready to read and other children are not, and sometimes it really is an injury to the brain. I call them brain injuries. I think that's a very accurate way of describing them. Other people would say maybe the child has autism, maybe the child has a sensory processing disorder, maybe the child has Down syndrome. I wouldn't worry about the title personally. I think they are all brain injuries, and that's, if you think of it that way, maybe we're going to help the brain not necessarily be able to heal the injured spot, but we're going to help it create new pathways around the injury so that your child is able to learn. Yahweh created the brain in an amazing way. So if an area of the brain is not working correctly, we do know that we can reteach the brain. We have a lot of strategies for this. So I have a lot of hope for your child. Now let's see if some signs of learning disabilities are, does the child have a speech disturbance? The best way to know this, 2 ways. First of all, did the child learn to speak late in life, maybe 3 or 4 years old? I'm not talking about 9 months instead of 7 months. More, how many years old was it before your child started to speak? Also, do words continue to be mispronounced no matter how hard you try to help the child learn? Also, is there a cross dominance that is noticeable with your child? An easy to see one is your child left-handed. That doesn't necessarily indicate that your child has a brain injury, but it can sometimes mean that. Here's what you want to look for. This is ideal. The ideal is a child that uses the same side of his brain for everything. So the one side is stronger than the other, and if it's the left side of the body, that means he's a right-sided brain, because it's the opposite. And so let's just talk about hands for a second. Which hand is dominant? If it's the right hand, as it is in most children, then that child uses the left side of her brain to write with her right hand. Okay? So because she's right-handed, we would want to see that if she looked down a telescope, that she would prefer to look down a telescope with her right eye. You could grab a paper towel tube and just hold it up to your child and see which eye does she naturally put up to her, or does she put the tube up to. Let's talk about her ear. If she only is going to be able to listen to music through some earphones through one ear, which ear does she very naturally want to put the earphones into? Again, it should be the right side. If you have your child ask her to hop across the room on one foot, which side does she hop on? When your child was quite young and going up and down stairs, which leg, before they learn to walk with 2 feet up and down stairs, which side do they naturally tend to go towards? Again, I want to emphasize that the best thing is for everything to be on the same side of the body. If you find that your child is using one side of the body for some things and another side of the body for other things, that is a very definite indication of a learning disability and a brain injury. It doesn't mean that your child has extra talent. I'm sorry to say that it actually means that your body is compensating and using different sides of the brain to go around an injured area. This is really important to understand. We're going to do the same thing when we teach your child phonics. We're going to go around the injured area, but just the fact that your child is already doing that tells you that there is a brain injury, and this is really important. I have a book that I have linked down below this video that you can get from your local library or purchase on Amazon, and it will explain this in a lot more detail and give you some ways to compensate for this. Is your child better at copying in handwriting than he is at spontaneously writing? Those are some signs that maybe there's some brain problems. Maybe they have really good intelligence, but their written work is bad. And I'm talking about a child that's a little bit older, maybe doing some math. Maybe the child can spell anything but can't read. Maybe this child has a very strong interest in drawing and mechanics but does not want to have anything to do with reading. Maybe the child loves information, really loves to go to the library and learn and hear, watch videos, but stays away from anything that is in a book. Maybe you have a child who's restless, hyperactive, sluggish, clumsy, easily distracted, or maybe every child in your family has these traits. That's a good sign, seriously, that you may have passed on some sort of a genetic brain injury. I'm not telling you to worry. Again, don't worry. I want you to realize that we can train the brain to go around the injured area, but I just want you to have maybe a little bit more patience with your child and help your child feel a little bit of comfort that it's okay. No different than a person who is blind can learn to play the piano, a person that is deaf can learn to speak, and a child that has a small injury or even a large injury can be taught to do so many things. So I do want to recommend that before you go rushing out to get an official evaluation of your child, that you try for a couple months to eliminate processed food, boxed mixes, and that you just eat normal, plain food as God made it at home, unrefined, made in your own kitchen. Eliminate sugar, soft drinks, pop. Eliminate too much television. Eliminate video games. Eliminate, again, as I mentioned before, a stressful and crazy home that has no routines and no order. Those things can help about half of learning disabilities in children. You tackle those things first, and there is no change after several months of consistency, then maybe you can worry. Okay? All right, so we've talked about learning disabilities. We've talked about how to know when your child is ready to read. Now let's talk about one more thing you should do before your child actually learns phonics, and that is get your Bible out and read the Bible to your child. It has been proven that having Bible time with your children 30 minutes a day, reading to them and then eventually having them read to you from their Bible, that without any other phonics instruction has been proven to help with brain injuries. That is just amazing to me, but I don't want you to ever forget the power of scriptures. Okay, we have some audios and things on our website that can talk more about that. I want you to give your child time and patience. If your child is showing any signs of difficulty with the level that you're using, maybe you've decided your child is ready for level 1, but your child is struggling. Or maybe your child is in level 2, but only really had some of the sounds that are on our scope and sequence that we have on our website. Then we strongly recommend that you back up a level. Put your pride aside. Don't worry that your child will go to college and never know how to read. I want you to be patient and calm and go back a level. Yes, it's going to be easy for your child. The first thing that the child learns in beginner phonics is how to recognize the letters F and then the letter B and so on. And they spend a week on each one, and it is ridiculously easy. And you feel that your child is dumb or that you're a failure, but no. What you're doing is you're creating strong rhythms and patterns and consistency and joy, because when something's easy for your child will succeed at it, and they're going to say, this is really fun and we get to play these games and I love reading time, and you're creating a totally different mindset and attitude in your home. And on top of that, it means that his brain needs time to practice, just like you had time to practice every single thing that you do. I remember I was a terrible cook when I first got married, and I think that if I had to go and learn everything about cooking in just a week, I would have felt quite discouraged. But I've been married 21 years. Things are quite easy for me now. We forget that our children need a lot of practice. I think that's why we have them for 18, 20 years before they're considered an adult. It's because they need that much time to practice until things not only become learned in the short-term memory, but become second nature and fully embedded in the long-term memory. It really does no good to rush things. Children all develop at different rates, and they don't develop steadily as our curriculum or any other curriculum makes it appear, because our curriculum is generic. We're writing this ideal checklist, a reminder, so to speak, of what you need to do each day, but children's brains don't read the manual. They don't develop at the same pace as the scope and sequence. And some weeks your child learns quickly, other weeks he seems to hit a plateau where it appears he's learning nothing. Maybe he's been sick, maybe he's fighting a cold, maybe he went to bed late, maybe there's stress, maybe he had a few days off school, and he actually appears to regress and you think you're a failure or your child has something wrong with them. But it is truly no big deal. We don't want to put grade levels on our materials, and really you shouldn't either. There is no rush. Go slower, go back, take time off learning new materials, and just review and practice consistently day after day. Go back a level, okay? So these are some of the things that you're going to do to practice what your child has learned before going on to new materials. Once a day, review all the sounds that your child has learned so far. We recommend in our curriculum making flashcards, most levels. Get those flashcards out and every day review them. For children who know all of the sounds in level 1, but they need to practice before continuing on to level 2, have them read small portions of Noah Webster's 1824 American Spelling Book, and we have that link down below, and you're just going to want pages 15 to 38. In fact, that's the only pages I'm going to give you in that download. And you want the child to read the words aloud to you, have them read across the row and down the column, so they're reading everything twice on a page, across and down. When your child can do those pages, then feel free to go on to level 2. In the meantime, also watch for speech problems by having your children repeat the problem words carefully and clearly. You might even want to hold a mirror up so that he can look at his lips and tongue as he says the word, or have him look at your lips and tongue. Okay, give him handwriting, copy work, and so forth, and allow the handwriting to catch up to the reading ability. And you can check the copy work suggestions on our website. We have some remedial handwriting information there that you can look at. From Noah Webster again, that's pages 15 to 38. Choose 5 words from each page and have your child write them as you say them. So you say the word, say it maybe twice, teach your child to pay attention and to listen. Child says the word back to you and then writes it out. and then you check it. So do 5 words a day. Okay, then have your child practice his reading on fun books. We like the Bob books around here. They're super easy, especially the very, very first level. If the book is a little bit more difficult, you might have him read 1 page and then you read the next page and go back and forth, always giving your child some success and then you helping them out. And if you can't do a whole page, then have your child read 1 sentence or just half a sentence or 1 word. Always getting a little bit of success, a little taste of this is fun, but you can supply some of the in-between parts so that the story moves along and the story is still enjoyable. Okay, pay attention to what page you're on when your child wears out and says, I don't want to read anymore. And note that as you read that book over and over again over the next few weeks, watch your child's endurance increase on that book. Okay, when you catch your child reading anything on his own and you see emotions coming out of your child, such as laughter, because he's involved in the story, and so he reads something funny and he laughs, or he reads something sad and he's sad, or he asks a question about what something means in the story, maybe what the character has been doing, you know that you have succeeded. Your child has gone past sounding out words and is actually involved in the story and completely forgotten that he was actually reading at all. Success. You made it. It doesn't mean you never have to practice anymore. It doesn't mean you don't have to finish levels 1 and 2, but you can relax and calm down. Your child is going to be just fine.
After a month or 2, I want you to pull out your curriculum again and be consistent in using it every single day. Then evaluate, is your child ready to continue or do you need to wait a little bit longer? As always, feel free to email us or contact us if you need more specific help.